Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. America250PA is so excited to welcome Mr. Richard Sand. He's the author of the book Edison 64, A Tragedy in Vietnam and at Home. In addition to this, though, he is very accomplished in Pennsylvania, has written several other books, and he is here today to speak with us about his background. So, Mr. Sand, Richard, thank you so much for being here today with us.
My honor and pleasure.
So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what's your connection to Pennsylvania?
I was born here, which is a good start, and grew up here. I went to Temple University, and then I went away to NYU Law School. I came back home, had a bunch of careers. I started a chain of martial arts schools to provide self-defense. I had schools at 40 colleges and Wise, Center for the Blind, which won a big some award, not for me, but for them. And then I started practicing law, which I've been doing for 50 some years. And then I was involved in public service. And one of the things was my being appointed to the governor's Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission, where I served under Governors Corbett and Governor Wolf. And the thing that I did, other than go to the meetings and stuff, was help put up those monuments. And so one of them was to appear at the Valley Forge Military Hospital, which served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And I can remember there was a gentleman in his World War II woolens helping me unfurl the monument. And I said to him, I don't feel right about this. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I don't feel worthy, which is understandable. And he said, neither do I. And I, being an idiot, said, why? And he said, because I came home. And that really struck me. 75 years he's been carrying that guilt and suffering and pain. So then when I heard that there was an opportunity to appear at Edison High School, which was Edison 64. 64 kids from Edison High School were killed in the Vietnam War, the largest number of any school in the country. Black, white, Latino, neighbors, friends. I went there and I asked permission to interview guys. I'm a pretty tough cookie, but after being there, I had to like sit in my car for an hour. It was really, and then I would reach out and be invited to their homes, the homes of survivors and people who knew whose loss was more palpable than those who died even. And I would interview them. And so the reason why the book has been so well received, Tom Ridge wrote a foreword. That's the first head of Homeland Security, and he was a combat vet in Vietnam. And Chief Justice Ron Castile, who was Chief Justice in Pennsylvania Supreme Court, likewise gave the book kudos, and it won a bunch of prizes. The Military Writers Society of America Gold Medal, which is remarkable because I did not serve, and although I do a lot of service for veterans, including this book or with this book, and they say, "What's your MO? Did you serve?" And I said, "I'm a mailman." And meaning what? Meaning getting this story told. Audie Murphy, who was the most decorated soldier in World War II, Tom Ridge quoted him in the book, and he said, Audie Murphy said, "No one who serves ever survives a war." And everybody I interviewed would get 20 minutes into it and they would cry. But what I would do is I'd let them tell me their stories. And so it's their voice that spoke. My first experience with this war stuff, I was in a bowling league with my uncles and my brother and my father. And there was a big guy sitting in the lane next to us, and he was crying. And I said to my uncle Percy, may he rest in peace, I said, "What's wrong with that guy over there?" And he said, "Oh, he was in the war. That just happens every now and then." And it just stunned me. And I carried that with me until I was called to do this. Now, before this, I'd written an award-winning mystery series, Lucas Ruff mystery series, The History of Girard College. I'm the authority on government protocol, so I wrote that book. But it was all for the purpose of getting me to be able to do this.
I know that, of course, the story, and I want to thank you too for bringing this story to light, and really making it personal for people to really understand what
Yes.
people have went through. America 250 PA, one of the things that we strive for is to really shed a positive light on Pennsylvania. But of course, we wouldn't be anywhere without our history and talking about some of these moments that defined us as a Commonwealth. So of course, this is a very deep subject, and speaking with all of those individuals who were personally affected. How has that influenced you personally and the work that you're doing now?
So I practice law, I write fiction, and I do veteran stuff. And what I do is people read the book and, oh, my father was in World War II. Here, let me sign it. And then they read it, and then they cry, and then they know what it's like, and then their service is honored, and that's why I do it, and it's changed me in that it's given me a duty to perform. From my own experience from being on the Historic Commission, is that every little town has a monument, both physical and emotional and spiritual, to those who gave all they had to give. In the last page, I have some great photos from Patrick Hughes, Marine, who is a wonderful combat. And here it just says, our costs in the Vietnam War, 58,148 killed, 304,000 wounded, 23,214 disabled, 5,283 lost limbs, 271 with PTSD, and 39,471 homeless. But as we know, giving up your physical life is not the most painful thing. I mean, there's a story, a couple stories in here, when mom's in the kitchen and she's cooking, and mom, there's somebody at the front door, says her, 11-year-old kid. And she turns her head and she sees the two soldiers carrying the American flag. And she falls down with a hole in her, which will never heal. Never, ever. When Dana Swift Plummer said, it wasn't Corporal James T. Swift who was killed on that day in Vietnam. It was my big brother. And you just go, whoa. And then she tells how he bought her first pair of high heel shoes with heels on them. They call them Mary Jane heels. And all the stories are like that. And they're walking around now, and they will forever. So somebody should know what they're doing. That's how this came about. And all the money from the books goes to charity, mostly to the Vietnam Veterans Multi-Service Center. I also have a scholarship at Edison High School where $1,000 a year. We're in our 6th year.
What are you looking forward to most in 2026 when we celebrate America's 250th?
I'm looking forward to walking outside and standing under the flag.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that more people say, "I love you, son. I love you, Mom."
All right, everyone, we want to thank you again for joining us today. If you are interested in learning more about America250PA, we encourage you to check out our website at www.america250pa.org and also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now LinkedIn. And until next time, we encourage you to join us and become a part of history. So thank you again, Mr. Richard Sand, for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.